Social and friendships stroke relationships. This is point number 4. May appear narcissistic, self-centered, egocentric, or caring only about him or herself. And it does actually say him or herself, due to not understanding the unwritten social rule. Now, I would say that doesn't really apply to me. I would say I do understand the unwritten social rule. However, I do just come out with things that realistically sort of walks all over the unwritten social rule because of how extroverted I am, and the mask I use to cover up a lot of my social traits makes me a very loud person, and makes me say things that are politically incorrect. I'm getting better as I'm getting older, but definitely in my younger years, some of the outrageous stuff, even at school, some of the outrageous stuff, particularly of a sexual nature, would definitely sort of come to the front. Just blurt it out. Anyway, may obsess over one friend to the extreme. Now, I wouldn't necessarily say I've obsessed over one friend to the extreme. Potentially I've obsessed over one person to the extreme quite recently. So I do kind of understand it to a certain extreme, but I did, as I've grown up, I've generally always had like pretty much one friend at a time that I spend a lot of time with. Through my early years, there was one person called Jason who I was friends with from 6 to 16 years old, and then a little bit later on, after a little spell away, I was friends again for another 3 or 4 years before, quite frankly, I'd worked out that as he'd grown up, he'd become very self-centered and only really give a shit about himself, and so I cut ties with that. But yes, I'm definitely a one person, one friend at a time type of guy. And, you know, even my ex-wife, you know, it would just be me and her living in each other's pockets. Really have a large social group. We knew a few people, but wouldn't really go and see them that often. I have other friends, but I don't see them that often. So usually when I have one person, you could say obsess, okay? Not necessarily just friends. Preference for friendships with men, or in my case women, as they are easier to understand than women or men. They also find the interests of their peers boring and uninteresting. I have kind of fallen into this before, where I like to, like for instance, my snowboarding. When I was younger, all I would talk about mountains and snowboarding, and you know, I would come back from doing a season in May, and it would be the big joke, because a month later you'd have the longest day of the year, and it'd be like, winter's coming, you know, and you start talking about the following winter and what you're going to do, and where you're going to go, and what you're going to buy, and yes, it became quite a pinnacle part of my life, where it was all I'd done. It's just, you know, watching snowboarding videos constantly, listening to the music that only ever appeared on snowboarding videos, and it really was such a huge part of my life that my special interest sort of kind of overruled everything, and I would surround myself with people that had similar or same special interests. So I've got a lot better with that as I got older, but I do kind of relate to that. Need more time away from people than their peers. Solitude in brackets. No, I don't really relate to that. Yes, I'm quite happy and comfortable with my own company, so long as I know I've got that support group or that special person in my life. The second that I feel torn away from a special person, or you know, the one or two close friends that I do see, when it's not a special person, it's just a special friend. As soon as I'm torn away from that, I go into panic mode. So no, I don't sort of just go, oh well, I'm by myself, all's well, fine and dandy, because I'm only fine and dandy with it when I know there's a future or someone to go out with, or you know, there is something there for me. Anyway, my experience, may experience stress, anxiety, and confusion in a social group or group work situations. I used to. I've got a lot better as I've become an adult. And when I say an adult, I mean like, you know, I'm in my 40s. When I look back at my 20s, I don't think of me as an adult. Okay, so it gives you an idea of sort of, you know, I changed through my 30s. Social anxiety leading to social phobia. Over analysing, right? So social anxiety leading to social phobia. Yes, more so when I was younger. I don't particularly like it now. Finding my own group of friends, but you know, or you know, if I'm with a small group of people I can interact with, but you know, large social functions, fucking hate it. I still fucking hate it, like proper hate it, which is actually quite bad when you're a photographer and you're supposed to be taking photographs at social functions, because you've got to be Mr. Happy, Mr. Jolly, talk to people. If you don't do that, it shows in your work. Okay, so anyway, social anxiety leading to social phobia. Right, over analysing social interactions where they overthink on a loop about what they said, did not say, should have said, or not said, and what they wish they should have said. Now I'm going to stop just there, because that was written for me. I am fucking telling you that now. When I have an issue confront itself to me, that can rattle on in my mind, and it can crop up. I can wake up in the morning, it's there. I can literally be at work, and because my work is so repetitive and I just do it as on a secondary nature, it's just there, going round and around and around. And then I might forget about it, and then literally something, boom, it's there again. I could go out with someone, I could be trying to have a date with another woman, yeah, and all of a sudden, when I'm supposed to be supposedly interested in this other woman, I'm having a drink, bang, it just goes back into my mind again. And I'm sitting there thinking, I'm really trying hard, but this thing's just rattling on and on and on. And it takes me a long time to get over what it is that is going around on a loop, okay? So when, and sometimes when I just think I'm getting over it, something else comes along, whammo, and gets me back on that loop. And that loop stops me sleeping. Yeah. And there are some people that know it stops me sleeping. And I'm epileptic, so me not sleeping is bad. Anyway. On the other side of this is continual stressing about what the other person is thinking of them. Sound familiar? Yep, that's me. Always stressing about what someone thinks of me. I want to be liked. Sorry, I just do. I don't have enemies. I don't. I know there's people at work, for instance, that, you know, I wouldn't necessarily go out for drinks with one-on-one, like, oh, hiya, so-and-so, do you fancy going out for drinks? Not, yeah, no problems, because I know for a fact that they wouldn't consider me as someone that they would go out for a drink with. However, I get along with them at work, yeah, and you know, we are different people. We would never have that personal, you know, relationship. But I always get along with people, and when push comes to shove, I can have a bit of a laugh and a joke with them. So I don't have enemies. It's very rare I don't get along with everyone, and I don't like it when I find that someone is quite offish with me, i.e. they don't like me. Well, it looks like I'm taking too long over this because the camera just shut itself off. So yes, as I've just said, I do find that I want to be liked, and I suppose a lot of people want to be liked. However, I do obsess if someone doesn't like me. If I find out people have started not liking me, it plays on my mind, okay? And I then want to try and fix it, okay? This is usually done to the extreme that it can be incapacitating for the person. Does it incapacitate me? No, it doesn't incapacitate me. It doesn't stop me actually going about my daily life, but it does. It does just twirl round and round and round in my head. So yes, to a certain degree, that would be incapacitating. I suppose in my younger years, I probably would have found it incapacitating. Right. Anyway, strong preference to engage in conversation related to their special interests. Well, I've already said I used to surround myself with people that were of a similar interest, like the snowboarding. And I've seen other people surround themselves with people that have, that relate to their special interests. So, yep, I totally understand that. And I've got a lot better with a broader view of interests as I've got older. Like money, houses, property, whatever. Yeah. As I've experienced life, I've got much better with that. A strong dislike for social chit-chat, gossip, nonsense, lies, or conversation that lacks a function to it, but some are known to engage in it themselves. Yes, totally can relate to that. I've totally seen that in other people as well. A strong dislike for social chit-chat. I find it hard just to have social chit chat. So I wouldn't say I have a strong dislike for it, but I just find that can be quite difficult. Gossip, I only really gossip when I get caught up into the gossip of the work gossip. Okay. However, I very quickly get bored of that. Nonsense. I'm quite dismissive of people that talk shit, basically. Extremely dismissive of people that talk shit. The only time I'm not dismissive of people that talk shit is if it actually adversely affects me. Lies or conversation that lacks a function to it. Yes, I completely understand lacking a function. If it has no relevance to me, after a few minutes I switch off, I glaze over. I really, I have been accused of living in my Johnny Wood's own little bubble. That might be the reason why I've been accused of that. I don't know. I would have thought because of what I've previously said about now I'm older, I'm having a much broader spectrum of interests and abilities, and the fact that I travel a lot, and I don't just mean Europe. I mean I do go out of my comfort zone quite a lot. I would never have said I'm one that lives in the bubble. I would have said one of these people that I work with who go on the same holiday destination year in, year out, and have never gone any further than fucking Norfolk from Essex, which is like 100 miles, and haven't even got a passport, and live and work in the same town, and they're like approaching like 40, 50 years old, and they've been like that since birth in the same town. I would say they're the people that live in a bubble. So anyway, where was I? But some are known to engage in it themselves. Yes, okay. So I do get involved in this whole conversation that lacks function, this whole work thing, the social chit chat, blah 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 blah. I don't know. I've met people recently. I've had evenings with them out for dinner, and I chit chat. I don't tend to have a problem anymore. I would have done. Right. So moving on. A history of being bullied, you will find out, but absolutely, teased, left out, and or fitting in with same age peers. And or not fitting in with same age peers. Right, that's another line that was fucking written perfectly for me when I was younger. And when I start talking about my life, I've already recorded like a whole hour and 20 minutes of me talking about my life. So I can edit some of those bits out and I can put this in. So you will see, that was written for me. What I've seen here, unless he has similar Aspie friends. I don't know. I didn't even know what Asperger's was 2.5, probably 2.5 years ago. I didn't even really know it. I didn't know it. I wouldn't have understood it. An intense dislike of lies. But may lie to others, her, himself. Many have admitted this to the author. Right, so let's get a few things quite straight here. My lies are only lies to protect others. And I will use an example. And this is not an example that I've done. I'm just using this as an off-the-cuff example. This doesn't relate to me at all. But if you had an affair, right? Some people will go, I feel so guilty, and tell their partner. If you felt that guilty, you're not going to do it again because you know how fucking bad it made you feel. So you know it was a mistake. So why tell your partner and then put them through that shit? Okay. Now that's a bit of an extreme example, but you know, there you go. So in my case, something that springs to mind is I was late round someone's house one night. That's because some people have been talking shit about them. They were really stressed out about, the person I was going to see was really stressed out about this, and I wanted to get to the bottom of it. And mainly because the people that were causing this shit were actually working for me. So the way I looked at it was like, sort of they were my employees. So I kind of took responsibility that I needed to find out what had been said. And I lied and said, oh, I'm late because I got pulled over by the police. When actually I was late because I'd stopped the car and actually was phoning people up to try and sort of find out what was said. And I later on told them this, but they actually didn't actually like that. Although it's such a small lie, they didn't like that. So I now understand that that someone with Asperger's may not like even the smallest of lies. I don't necessarily think the small lies really bother me. There are certain instances where things, where I have been lied to over small details, and I kind of thought, why? Just why? It doesn't actually affect me, but why lie? It's just a pointless lie. It just doesn't seem to be any reason for it. So anyway, has the ability to socialise, however, is unable to do so for long periods of time. Suffers from social exhaustion or social hangover. When socialising too much, the hangover can last hours to days, which can be debilitating. No, I don't suffer from any sort of social exhaustion or social hangover. I just find it difficult to socialise. All depends on the person, really. Experience great difficulty with conflict, arguments, being yelled at, fighting, war or stress. Right, so let's go through this very briefly. Experiencing great difficulty with conflict. I don't do conflict. I can do conflict. I can do conflict very well, but I really don't like to. Okay, arguments. I do not argue. Period. Ask my wife. Ask any of my exes. I will not argue. I think in 14 years with my wife, I actually lost my fucking rag and shouted at her once. And that was very early in the relationship. And that was when I was a dope smoker, a very heavy dope smoker. And she was basically trying to get me to stop. And I remembered actually screaming at her. And a lot of that was to do with, basically, to do with actually smoking dope. I realise now, as you're older, just how mentally addictive, even marijuana, despite its many benefits, how mentally addictive that can actually be. So yes, arguments, I don't do them. Even my most recent relationship, there's never been an argument. I've once or twice lost my rag in a message. When it's come to wanting to really go, I want to fucking throttle you, I've still managed to just walk away. Okay. Being yelled at. No, I don't like being yelled at. I don't think anyone would like being yelled at. But even if it's like being yelled at like a bollocking from the boss, no, I really don't like it because I get the fuck you. I don't need this shit. And could actually punch someone over it. So fighting, I don't do fighting. I'm not a fighter. I couldn't really fight my way out of a paper bag unless it actually relates to seeing fighting. Can I see people fighting? Things like boxing and that don't interest me in the slightest. Does it bother me to watch? No. War doesn't bother me. Stress. Who likes to feel stress? Right, so has great difficulty asserting himself, asking for help and setting boundaries. Right, yes, 100% that's me. give you an example. I was at a school job with two young ladies. It could be a year ago now, maybe. Yeah, but I think it was either. Yeah, I think it was like sort of this time last year. And I got really, really stressed because I didn't know how to ask for help. Yeah, I just wanted help setting up, and I let them carry on just chit chatting away to each other. And for some reason, I found I couldn't assert myself. You know, which technically speaking, I'm employing people, but I couldn't assert myself and actually say, guys, can you just give me a hand to quickly set up? So yeah, really that get under my skin, and then these guys then pick up on it and they start thinking I'm moody. It's something I have got a problem with, and I think the closer I am to people, personally, the closer I am to people, the more difficulty I find with asking for help or asserting myself. I kind of just expect people to just know me and see me busy and say, "Oh, do you want a hand with that?" I just expect people to do that. Yeah, it's not always the case in life, So yes, I do find it difficulty asserting myself and asking for help. Setting boundaries, I'm not sure. Not sure. I would have to actually have someone put that into a little bit more context for me to say whether or not that actually relates to me. May need to drink or do drugs to be able to socialise, perform, sing, be with and or around people. Yes, 100% when I was younger. I used to take drugs, smoke marijuana, and the little bit of dabbling I've done with, what do they call it, recreational drugs like ecstasy and stuff. Yeah, that's how I used to socialise. I didn't socialise apart from in that form, but it was the rave scene. We will touch more on that at another day. And and being drunk. Well, I can't stand drunk people unless I'm drunk. There you go. I actually find them laboriously boring. I actually hate it. So yeah, I really, yeah, and I find the whole socialising thing better once I've had a drink. I open up more once I've had a drink. I can't drink because of my epilepsy, and last time I put myself in that position in a previous relationship, which that will come up as well at some point. In a previous relationship, I started drinking because they were a drinker, and it aided me to fit in with their social circle, and everyone was a bloody drinker. And basically, it kicks off my epilepsy again, which caused me many, many problems. So, yes, I relate to that. May currently have or have experienced post-traumatic stress, often due to being misunderstood, misdiagnosed, mistreated and or mismedicated. Nope, don't understand that at all. Social skill differences, is exceptionally good one-on-one and presenting to groups. Well, I'm doing this, I suppose. However, has difficulty working within a group situation. Yes, when I was younger, not so bad now. May find herself in social situations or relationships. I know there's a few people that are going to point fingers with this one, but I'm not going to delete stuff just because it's uncomfortable to read because of certain things. But I don't believe this to be so. Anyway, may find herself in social situations or relationships that he or she is unhappy with. Yes, I get that. I understand that. And I do relate to that. I personally relate to that. But not known how to remove him or herself from them. Yes, I always known how to remove myself from that. Have I wanted to? Have I always tried to just hang on to something? Yes, and that just causes more and more problems. Is highly at risk for being with a toxic, abusive person dire to his or her nature. So, no, I don't believe. I'm not going to say if I've ever been with a toxic or abusive person dire to my nature. I would like to think that I haven't. And I would like to think that I am not a toxic or abusive person die to someone else's nature. Right. History of being taken advantage of by others, even though she has taken the appropriate business, legal or social advice from others. History of being taken advantage of by others. Yes, I do relate to that in personal. I'm quite a giver, and I don't know when to stop. I'm actually more inclined to stop people taking the piss out of my brother than I am to stop people taking the piss out of me. When it comes to things like money. Often bored in social situations or parties and or does not know how to act in social situations. Yep, written for me. May say yes to social events, then later make up excuses as to why he cannot attend, often staying at home in solitude, reading a book or engaging in his or her special interests. Yeah, I've done that as younger. I wouldn't say I've stayed at home in solitude, but yes, I've definitely made up excuses for not attending social events many times when I was younger. Often prefers to be engaged in her or his special interests rather than socialising. Yep, 100%. May be considered the black sheep of the family. Absolutely, I am the black sheep of the family. Often considers her different. Others consider her different, odd, eccentric, or weird by others. Yep, definitely me. May feel like he has to act normal to please others or does not care about at all about fitting in. I don't know that I'm trying to act normal. I know I wear a mask, an outrageous mask. Do I care about fitting in? Yeah, I desperately care about fitting in. I just don't know how to. Copies, mimics, acts in order to fit in and make others like him, her. Yeah, to a certain degree, I can relate to that. I mean, you could. Some people might even turn around and say, "Me starting to ride horses recently. I've ridden them in the past. But the more I've done that recently. I actually really enjoy it. You know what I mean? So it's not just that, but yeah, realistically, that did start off with me trying to fit in over the last couple of years. It just so happens I found out I bloody well like it. So, a people pleaser, but then may burn bridges suddenly, e.g., quit relationships as they have difficulty managing conflict, confrontation, and stress. No, yes and no. People pleaser, yes. But then may burn bridges suddenly, no. Quitting relationships, definitely not. As they have difficulty managing conflict, confrontation and stress. Yes, I have difficulty managing conflict, confrontation and stress, but I just keep plugging and plugging and plugging away at it, and I just don't know when to stop. Females appear to be better than males at masking their traits of autism in social situations. However, girls are less able to do so in unfamiliar settings. Couldn't say if that's true or not. May be considered a loner or may have many acquaintances but no real friends. Again, that is one that was written for me. If you knew me when I was younger, definitely. Very few real friends, hundreds of acquaintances. The amount of people I know is astronomical. You'll be quite surprised the people I can pull out the bag when I need to. Considered a loner, yes, as will be explained in my talking about my previous life. The fact that I was a loner is what gave me the ability to be accepted by a lot of various different groups, and because I didn't actually necessarily fit in with one specific group, but I was conveniently, willingly used by several groups because I was a loner and I was good at keeping this open and keeping this shut. Social naivety, may believe anything told to them by others, gossip, stories, jokes and teasing. Difficulty interpreting the intentions of others. misinterprets other people's intentions, often jumping to conclusion about others, may be described as gullible. I'm not so sure about some of them terms when I was younger, maybe one or two. I've come across this in others 100%, whether they like it or not. Yeah, you know, jumping to conclusions. I wouldn't necessarily say gullible, misinterpreting intentions, jumping to conclusions, misrepresent other people's intentions. Yes, yes, yes. Most of those things, yes, definitely. Did I suffer from internet when I was younger? And this is going to be the last point before I stop. Did I suffer from internet when I was younger? May believe anything told to them by others. Gossip, stories, jokes. Possibly when I was younger. I don't know. It was too far ago to remember, to be honest with you. So I'm gonna have to say a negative on my part. But yeah, I have seen that in others. So anyway. That's brought us up to number 5. Now, I know I've been rattling on for ages because I'd like to talk a bit about me in this as well. So this might end up just getting up to number 5 might be split across two videos. So we'll leave it there. And I'm now I've got into this. I'm kind of liking doing it, to be honest with you. But for me, it's midnight, and I've got a boat to catch to Finland in the morning. So I really need to shut this all down and get my sorry ass into that bed next to me. So, yep, thank you for watching. If you have any questions, feel free to PM me or just post them on Facebook. I'll quite happily answer anything, you know. And if you think that I've misrepresented something or I've got confused with a term, feel free to point it out. You know, I'm always happy to help or represent something. Okay, so this is one occasion where I will say thank you very much for listening, because this is important to me, and this is going to be important action for Asperger's. So please support, please follow, and donate some bloody money to them.